Imagine your property tax bill dropped to zero next year. If you live in a state like Texas, a typical $400,000 home carries almost $5,900 per year in property taxes. That's about $490 per month off your mortgage payment if this were to happen. But here's the catch. When states talk about ending property taxes, they still have to fund schools, police, and roads. Most proposals replace that local tax with higher state sales tax. In Florida, a study bill is active, and independent analysis estimate the state sales tax would need to land around 12% if sales tax does most of the replacement. That would be the highest state rate in the country. I will show you the math, the swap, who wins, and who pays, along with a potential plan that could be a little bit smarter, but we'll see. So what's actually on the table? Florida has Senate Bill 852. It is a study on eliminating property taxes. It orders state economists to design the replacement plan and report back. It's not a repeal. Texas already passed a big cut. On November 2023, voters approved Proposition 4. It raised the school homestead exemption to $100,000 and added limits on some non-homestead appraisal growth. It passed with 83.44% support. That was real relief. It was not elimination. Other moves to watch would be Nebraska's Epic Option 2.0. It's collecting signatures for the 2026 ballot to replace property, income, and inheritance tax with a broad consumption tax. Ohio organizers are targeting 2026 with an initiative to prohibit tax on real property. In Pennsylvania, House Bill 900 would ask voters to amend the Constitution to prohibit real property taxes statewide. All of these need a clear replacement plan, though. So let me answer the main question fast. If your Texas home is $400,000 and the average statewide rate applies, dropping property tax to zero looks like about $490 per month back in your pocket. Now compare that to a sales tax swap. The Florida analysis we talked about was pointing to an increase if this were to happen. If your household spends $2,000 per month on taxable items, 6% is $120 in taxes. At 12%, that's going to double to $240. The true impact depends on design choices. But I have a question to ask you. How would you vote on this situation? Regardless of whether your state is one of the ones that I've mentioned, I would love to know whether you would vote yes to abolish property taxes or no, you would rather keep them. So let me know down below in the comments the state that you're in and your answer. Also, because a move like this would affect schools, public safety, and the overall infrastructure of your city, if you work in one of these roles, I would love to hear your opinion on how you think this would affect your day-to-day life as a public servant. So why governments like property tax and why swaps are tricky. In 2021, property taxes made up about 15% of all state and local general revenue. For public schools, local property taxes were about 36% of total revenue in 2020 to 2021. If you remove that pillar, you must replace it with something that's just as steady, or you feel it in the classrooms and city services when the economy slows. Sales tax is not a villain. It's just more sensitive to the business cycle than property taxes. Sales taxes also move more, and then corporate income taxes swing even more. If you lean on sales tax to pay for schools, you need larger rainy day funds and automatic stabilizers. So let's talk about Florida and Texas and what this plan means for a household. Florida SB 852 is a study. If lawmakers try to replace local property taxes mainly with state sales tax, the math points near a 12% rate. Families feel it most on dining out, clothing outside tax holidays, home goods, personal care, small electronics, and taxable services. The more you spend in state, the more you pay. In Texas, 2023's Proposition 4 raised the school homestead exemption to $100,000 and used state dollars to compress school rates. It passed by a landslide and did not eliminate property taxes. If lawmakers keep compressing rates, the state has to keep backfilling school budgets. That is the sustainability test. So who wins and who pays? Winners on day one are for sure going to be homeowners with higher value property and lower in-state spending. People who own second homes, large land holdings, and also big portfolios will also win. They'll save the most on the property tax side and can route more purchases through businesses or out of state. But who often pays are the households that spend a bigger share of income locally. And this would include renters who don't have a property tax bill. And this is also why analysts are calling sales tax regressive. It takes a bigger share of income from lower and middle incomes than from the top unless you add strong offset. So now let's talk about what California's cap teaches us. California did not eliminate property taxes. In fact, Proposition 13 in 1978 capped the rate at 1% and limited assessed value growth to 2% per year until a sale. Research shows a lock-in effect. People stay longer because moving resets the tax base, which means fewer moves can tighten supply when demand is strong. There's also a land use angle. When property tax growth constrained, cities pressure to chase sales tax. Planners call this the fiscalization of land use. Studies show a bias toward retail deals over housing. If your state leans more on sales tax, build guardrails so cities stay neutral on housing approvals. So what to ask before you vote? I have 7 questions that I personally can think of. First, what is the permanent replacement for local property tax revenue? If it is sales tax, what rate and what base? The second is, how do schools get protected during a recession? Where are the reserves and what automatic triggers keep class sizes stable? The third is going to be, how are renters protected if sales taxes rise? And do credits reach households that do not owe income tax? Personally, I think that this will create a lot more owners than renters, which could actually spike demand and then also affect prices as well. Fourth, are essentials like groceries and prescriptions protected? If these stay exempt, what rate do you need on everything else to close the gap? Fifth is, how do you keep cities from chasing retail over housing? And are they using revenue sharing or housing protection goals so approvals stay neutral? The sixth question is, are leaders using one-time surplus dollars to launch permanent cuts? And what happens when the money fades? And the last question is, publish tables that show who benefits and who pays by income and by tenure. Owners and renters should both be on the page. Here's another plan that I think could possibly help homeowners without breaking local finances. Potentially capping property taxes as a share of income for lower and middle income households could help. You can turn the extra into a refundable credit, which protects people most at risk and keeps school budgets stable. Another thing is potentially deferring the increase and pay when you sell. This would stop tax foreclosure without cutting today's classrooms. Another idea would be fix errors that overvalue low-priced homes, which means publishing ratio studies by neighborhood and make appeals simple. Homestead exemptions with guardrails are also needed. Texas showed this with Proposition 4. Voters raised the school homestead exemption to $100,000, and the state used dollars to compress school rates. This tied broad relief to stable backfills and tighter appraisal rules. Hey, before I finish the rest of the video, if this is helping you see the full picture, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. You have no idea how much this helps the channel and allows this video to be shared to more people like yourself. And also, join the conversation. I want to hear from you, so comment down below your thoughts, whether you agree, disagree, or whatever else it is that you want me to talk about on the channel. Let me know in the comments. So what I would look at this as a consumer are going to be a few things. First, will my mortgage payment go down if property taxes go away? Your escrow will drop for sure, but if you are a buyer, prices can rise if buyers bid up homes because carrying costs fall. That depends simply on supply. The less homes available, the more demand there will be. When it comes to renters benefiting, not from a swap that leans on sales tax without offsets. Renters do not have a property tax bill, but they pay more at the register. Also, is sales tax more stable than property tax? No. Property tax is usually the steadiest big local source. Sales tax still dips in recessions. So what I would also look at doing is planning reserves now. So how can you run your own numbers? Step 1, find your county's effective rate and your school district rate. Your appraisal district and county tax office publishes both. Step 2, multiply your home value by the effective rate and then divide by 12. That is going to equal out to roughly what your monthly property taxes are. Step 3, list your monthly taxable spending. This would be for things like groceries, dining out, clothing, home goods, personal care, small electronics are all going to be taxable services. If a sales tax increase is part of your state's plan, multiply your monthly taxable spending by the current rate and then by the proposed rate. The difference is what you feel at checkout. Let's talk about California's lesson that you can borrow without the drama. Lesson 1, if you cap assessments or cut the tax deeply, people move less. That lowers listings when demand is strong. Prices feel that, which also affects California's housing crisis. Lesson 2, aligned incentives. If sales tax grows in importance, make sure cities do not tilt toward retail over housing. Use revenue sharing or housing targets so approvals stay balanced. If you want me to walk through your numbers with your county rates and your budget, book a quick call with me. There's a link down below. I'm happy to talk through how this would affect you as a homeowner or as a future home buyer. Don't forget to tell me your state and how you would vote down below. I'd love to hear your answer. The last thing I want to leave you with is always the most important thing, and that's Jesus loves you and he paid the ultimate price for your life. So if you turn to him, trust in him, and believe in him, he has a beautiful plan and purpose for you. I'll see you in the next one.